All right, if you're an HR professional in California, you're going to want to listen up. There's a brand new law on the books called the Workplace Know Your Rights Act, and guess what? Its deadlines are already hitting. So let's break down exactly what this means for you and your team.
Okay, let's just dive right in with a question that honestly should get your heart rate up a little bit. If you're running HR in California, were you aware that a major compliance deadline for a new law just blew past us 10 days ago?
The law we're talking about is Senate Bill 294, also known as the Workplace Know Your Rights Act. It kicked in at the start of this year, and it's creating some pretty big new hurdles for every single employer in the state. The goal here is to get more information into employees' hands and add a new layer of protection for them in some really critical situations.
And let me be clear, this isn't just another poster you have to swap out in the break room. No, this law brings two very distinct, very mandatory new requirements that your HR team has to get a handle on, like yesterday.
So what are these two new responsibilities? Well, first there's the annual Know Your Rights Notice. This is a big one, a single document that covers everything from workers' comp to an employee's rights during an immigration inspection. And second, and this is a real game changer, you now have to set up an emergency contact notification system specifically for work-related arrests or detentions.
Now, let's get into the timing, because this is where things get really serious. The compliance clock on this law is, to put it mildly, ticking very, very fast. Just look at this timeline. The law became effective January 1st, and that first huge deadline, February 1st, to get the Know Your Rights notice out to everyone, well, that's already in the rearview mirror. And the next one is coming up quick. Your emergency contact system has to be up and running by March 30th.
So, the real question for you today on February 11th isn't just, hey, did we send the notice out? It's, can we prove it? Because believe me, in the eyes of the Labor Commissioner, if you can't show documented proof of delivery for every single person on your payroll, you are not compliant, period.
So, practically speaking, where is this going to hit your team? What does this actually mean for your day-to-day HR operations? Let's dig into the functions that are feeling the heat right now.
And this quote right here from a Workday user on Reddit absolutely nails the real-world headache this is causing. It's a huge operational problem because your standard off-the-shelf HRIS probably isn't built for this. A lot of teams are scrambling to create custom fields or clunky manual workarounds just to track this new emergency contact info. You can see how the impact just ripples out across your entire HR function. It touches your onboarding process, your annual compliance checklists, how your HRIS is even structured, and of course your incident response plans. And here's a big one. You now have to train all your managers on these new notification duties.
Okay, let's talk about the stakes here, because the penalties for messing this up are no joke. The state has put some very real, very sharp financial teeth into this law.
For that first part, just failing to provide that annual notice correctly, your company is staring down a potential penalty of up to $500 per employee. You can do the math. For even a small company, that adds up incredibly fast. But for that second requirement, the emergency notification, the stakes get way, way higher. If an employee has opted in and you fail to notify their designated contact, the penalty is $500 per day. It caps out at a maximum of $10,000. And again, that's per employee involved in the incident.
So I know that's a lot to take in. What should you be doing right now, today, to get your arms around this and make sure you're fully compliant? Let's walk through a super clear action plan.
All right, here's your 5-step playbook. First, if you missed that February 1st deadline, send out that notice today and get documented proof of receipt. Second, you've got to update your emergency contact forms right away to hit that March 30th deadline. Third, bake these new requirements right into your HRIS and your new hire onboarding flow. Fourth, train your supervisors. They are your front line and they have to know the protocol. And last, step 5, keep meticulous, ironclad records of everything.
So let's end with this one critical question. Maybe you've already sent the notices out. Great. But is your documentation solid enough to survive a state audit if they walked in the door tomorrow? Can you prove, without a shadow of a doubt, that you've met every single requirement for every single employee? Because in the world of HR compliance, proof isn't just important, it's everything.